great news to all of those government employees that were fired by Musk. Many of them are now being asked to come back to work. As you know, Musk fired many employees when he was in charge of DOGE and resigned, I guess it was a couple months ago. And his efforts, which was ineffective at all and didn't even save the taxpayers money and actually cost taxpayers more money. And anyway, he quit DOGE after his debacle of trying to obtain access to the U.S. government's checkbook. Glad he's gone. But anyway, take a listen to why they're being asked to come back.
Always great to see you. What's behind this new move?
Well, Reed, it appears that the GSA, which is the government agency that is responsible for managing all of the buildings that are used by the federal government, simply didn't have enough employees to do the job effectively. And so according to this internal memo that was first obtained by the Associated Press, they're asking a whole bunch of workers to come back to work about 7 months after they were laid off. Now, this is not a new phenomenon. We've seen something similar happen at the Department of Labor, at the IRS, where they were so short-staffed that they couldn't provide the basic functions that they were created to perform. And in some cases, we're even losing money. You can really envision a scenario, Reed, in which the GSA, if it isn't managing buildings properly, if it isn't ending leases on time, if it isn't selling or buying buildings efficiently, could actually lose money, which is, of course, the opposite of what the stated goal of DOGE was, which was to save the federal government money.
Fascinating on that. Let's put that aside. I want to ask you about this because we just heard from Ukrainian President Zelensky at the UN General Assembly. Of course, this comes after President Trump now says that Ukraine is in a position to fight and perhaps get all of the territory back from Russia that Russia has claimed. Talk us through that reversal. It's stunning. You've been there in the Oval Office. You've seen those fiery meetings or exchanges either with Mr. Zelensky or about Mr. Zelensky. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, we all remember, Reed, when President Trump said to Zelensky in the Oval Office, "You don't have the cards." I remember talking to you about that right after it happened.
Right.
Now, apparently, it appears that the president believes that Zelensky does have the cards because he is suddenly saying that he thinks Zelensky can win all of his land back. Now, what everyone is trying to figure out is what caused this change of heart. Is President Trump simply talking tough, trying to force Putin to the negotiating table after coaxing him there hasn't worked? Has he truly had an actual change of heart? Does he now have some new faith in the Ukrainians that he didn't have before? It's important to note that President Trump hasn't changed any underlying U.S. policy yet to go along with that new position, and he has changed his position on various things having to do with the Ukraine conflict in the past. It often seems that he's more pro-Russian when he meets with the Russians than he's more pro-Ukrainians when he sits down with Zelensky. So I think we're just going to have to watch to see whether this is genuinely a new position that he holds and that is going to be reflected in U.S. policy more broadly, or if it was something that he stated in the moment because he truly heard something from Zelensky that he liked and wanted to show support.
Well, and also I want to ask you about this. You know, we heard the president's words sort of pointing the finger at those who buy Russian oil. However, we're not hearing an advancement of the U.S. making any plans in any formal way to really strike at the heart of those oil partnerships. What are you hearing on that note?
Well, the president has all these tools in his toolbox that he could employ. As you know, he has imposed tariffs on India. He could impose tariffs on China as well. China buys a lot of oil and gas from Russia. Interestingly, even as he railed against the Europeans for purchasing Russian oil and gas, they have scaled way back in those purchases. The president of the European Commission said, we have already decrease our imports significantly. We're going to eliminate them entirely by the end of the year. But there are countries run by some leaders who President Trump is on pretty good terms with, like Turkey or Hungary, that are still buying Russian oil and gas, which the president rightly argues is helping to provide revenue to fund Putin's war on Ukraine. So that's an open question as well. Will President Trump pick up the phone and start leaning more heavily on Hungary and Turkey to buy their oil and gas from somewhere else, perhaps even from the United States?
Nancy Cordes always asking the great questions and having the answers for us.